I mean, Joe's not here, so the O'Reilly stuff was really for him, you know. Joe Namath is set to join us. My buddy Charlie Marino checks in again. He goes, Babe Ruth, Muhammad Ali. And he's right. They're all icons. But what I'm getting at is there wasn't one home run by Babe Ruth that changed his life. There wasn't one fight. Namath, again, great career, Hall of Fame, did a bunch of very important things, including the merger. But one game changed his whole life. And I think the guy that comes close to that, Joseph Abboud says, what about Jesse Owens in the Olympics, World War II? And I think
that's good.
That's the closest thing to what I'm talking about. So Namath's book is out all the way. My Life in 4 Quarters. He's been a guest of mine many, many, many times back to the Sportsline days, and a guest of Bernie and Sid many times. And he's back now with the release of this terrific book. Here he is, everybody, the all-time great, Joe Namath. Good morning, Broadway Joe Willie. How are you?
Oh, man, I tell you what, Sid, Bernie, you guys bring back some memories going back to that sports line and so many years of the shows you've done. I'm just thrilled to be here with you, man.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. You know, I made the point today, Joe, that, you know, you were such an important figure for football. You know, great years, great games against like Raiders and LaMonica before the Super Bowl, and you were so instrumental in the merger. You're a deserved Hall of Famer. But in the 50-plus years, Joe, that I've watched sports, and all the icons I've watched along the way, I can't think of any athlete that gained more from one win, one game, one event than you did from Super Bowl III. Is that fair to say?
Well, it's fair to say from coming from you know, but for me to say that, man, I got to remember what got us there. You know, it was a long road from childhood to getting in that position as a team, man. So, but I hear what you're saying about that one game, and it was so special because of what I've been told, and I believe it did for football.
I mean, the truth is, Joe, if God forbid, and of course you had the guarantee, which was amazing. You're a 17-point dog. We're going to win, and you won. And we're so happy you won because everybody loves Joe Namath. But if God forbid you don't win that football game, I don't believe you live the life of celebration you've lived the last 50 years.
Well, if God forbid I would have come into this world as a lady, there's no telling what I'd have been doing. Somewhere, whatever. That if business is a big little word, you know.
Right. Yeah, but the fact is, you did it. It happened, and that's the bottom line. Listen, Joe Namath's going to be at the 92nd Street Y this coming Tuesday at 7 o'clock with Mike Greenberg to discuss this fabulous new book, Joe Namath, All the Way, My Life in 4 Quarters. And Joe Namath, I have to say, for the first time, I believe, you've written extensively about, it started with your bad knees, you started drinking, you talk about drinking and smoking, and all of that adversity that you overcame. You write candidly about all that stuff.
Well, you know, life is an ongoing education if you allow it to be, and I've been open to coaching since I was a child, man, and I'm still learning along the way, boy. Dealing with the sports, dealing with injuries, dealing with alcohol, you know, there's so many people, aside from myself, that are going through things. It's really, what I went through is not a whole lot different than what millions of people have been through, and I've been lucky enough to stay strong. You know, I got an education, and I learned what I needed to do, and that was to get rid of what was potentially killing me. And so far, things have been great, man.
Great.
Yeah, God bless you. 74 years old. Listen, Joe, I've been to rehab twice. You know, I know I'm in recovery my whole life. You know, I get it. And I don't want to make excuses for any of us, but growing up in Pennsylvania and then playing football in Tuscaloosa, and then at 26 years old owning Broadway in New York City, if you're ever going to make an excuse for why somebody would fall into some bad habits, Joe, from Pennsylvania to Tuscaloosa to the biggest star in the world in New York City, kind of makes sense. 26 years old, no?
Wow. You know, that word excuses, it's like something else everybody has, you know?
Yes.
And nobody wants to hear about those things. But, yeah, we just didn't know any better. We were learning. We're going back 70 years. I remember my grandfather giving me my first drink of alcohol. I was only 6 to 8 years old, but it was just a sip of some rock and rye. People didn't know how treacherous alcohol was, at least we didn't. And then being an athlete, getting some injuries and dealing with injuries, we were, I guess, petted a little bit and taken care of with some pain pills and things that were needed at times. It was all an education, man. I'm just lucky to be a survivor. I know that. And with the book, that's one of the reasons I did decide to go ahead with this project, because it wasn't my idea to start with. But going way back, man, underdogs, people are out there having a tough time every day, and I thought I'd have some things to say to maybe help them get through some tough times, to get tough, cop an attitude and make a change for the better.
Joe Namath, again, the book All the Way, you going back a little bit, you were actually a very good baseball player, a very good basketball player, but you actually received some offers from Major League Baseball, but you chose football in the end.
Well, I said, Bernie, hey, it was still a time that we listened to our parents, in a sense. I was 18 years old. I had a chance to sign with the Cubs. I had a chance to sign with the Orioles. St. Louis got in touch with me, but I wanted to play baseball, but simply put, my mother wanted me to go to college.
Yeah, there you go. Listen, I started my college career at Miami in 1984, and the head coach of a couple of quarterbacks you may have heard of, Bernie Kosar, Vinny Testaverde, Jim Kelly, Mark Ritt, was a guy named Howard Schnellenberger, and I love the story that it was actually Howard that got you to go to Tuscaloosa to play for Bear Bryant. I love that story. Joe, one other thing about going back to your days and talking about the drinking at 26 years old, owning New York City, another curse that was put on you was that you were too good looking. and I know you talk about this in the book, but not just alcohol, but women along the way became sort of an addiction for Joe Namath. Again, great-looking guy, most famous athlete in the world. That became an issue too, right?
Hey, I appreciate that addiction, if that's what we want to call it. I appreciate the beauty today, man. I'll be looking around and seeing some ladies, and not only with physical beauty, but how they conduct themselves, too. I am so appreciative of that trait for the opposite sex, man.
That's great.
Hey, listen, I remember the old days, Joe. I remember those commercials with you and Farrah Fawcett doing the Brute by Fabergé commercials, Joe, when I was growing up. That was great stuff.
It was wonderful stuff. Yes, thank you very much. I enjoyed working with some people, too, like Anne Margaret in the film industry, which was wonderful, and on stage, too, with some wonderful ladies, Misty Rowe. And it was hard for me to focus on the job whenever I was confronted with those beautiful people.
And it wasn't all, just good times, too, Joe Namath, the book All the Way. It was also... you were really plagued with some bad knees. You had your knees replaced, and, they really did affect you during your career.
Oh, well, no doubt. My senior year in college, the fourth game of the season, I was running around right end, and I tore knee ligaments in my right knee. And I was never the same since. Excuse me, if I were a racehorse at the time, they'd have shot me, it would put me down. But learning to play and never really being the athlete I was prior to that injury, I got lucky with the right teammates, with the right coaches, and accomplished a dream.
Yeah.
That as a young player in Little League Baseball, all through high school, you want to make the team. The dream is to get on a team and win a championship.
And you did it. And,
we did.
You and Weeb Eubank and now Jet fans have been chasing it for 50 years. And we'll get to this Sam Darnold team momentarily, Joe. But, I was telling Bernie that you actually helped me start my career in this when you teamed up with Schmidt and Mike Levy at Sportsline USA. That was my first job in sports, me and Scott Kaplan, and you were so good to Scott and I all those years. And, you're still an athlete. You were out there every morning, and I think you still are, hitting those golf balls up in Jupiter, Florida. What is your handicap these days, Joe? How you playing?
Sid, I'm playing the worst golf I've ever played, but I'm still a fan, and I get out there occasionally. But I remember that little office we had down there in Fort Lauderdale. You mentioned Mike Levy and our sports line team down there at the time. Thanks for bringing that up, man.
Oh, that was great.
The golf is a great sport, and I've never been a really good golfer, but I'm interested in the PGA that's happening right now out there in Long Island at Bethpage.
Yeah, now Bernie's got $25,000 on Brooks Koepka to win.
That's right.
Well, if it were decided in one round, we'd have won already.
By the way, Joe Namath's going to be at the 92nd Street Y this coming Tuesday, again at 7 o'clock with Mike Greenberg to discuss the new book, All the Way. The tickets you can get at 92y.org, 92y.org. Joe, let's ask you about the current Jets, if you don't mind. I mean, they may be in a little bit of disarray right now. They just fired the general manager. I mean, there's some bad blood between the coach, apparently, and Le'Veon Bell. The rookie quarterback, Sam Darnold, he had, a so-so year last year. What are your thoughts?
Wow, man, going back, Sid, a player in the locker room, all those things happening, players and coaches, that shouldn't interfere with what they need to do, with what their goal is. I have been a Jet fan, and I've said this many times. I've been a Jet fan through the years because of the Jet fans. They've been with us. Ownership changes, players change, coaches change, but our fan base has been there, and we want to win. Well, I can tell you one thing. I don't know if even the most diehard Jet fan we have wants to win any more than those players and coaches and Christopher Johnson. They want to win.
Yep.
So they're trying to do the right thing to win. And we all get critiqued. We've got to make decisions, and not everyone likes them all. But you mentioned Sam Darnold. I think every Jet fan out there and throughout the league appreciates his style and his work. His teammates certainly do. We've added some pieces to the team again this year, both in the draft and out, and through a trade or two, free agency that gives us some enthusiasm. But hell, these guys can get out there and beat anybody. They're all good players. They just need to learn to put it together. You need to learn what my college coach told us as freshmen. Keep your poise and discipline, and I'm going to teach y'all how to keep from beating yourselves.
Well said.
Beat themselves by making mistakes and stupid errors as much as the other teams beat them physically or more often.
Well, listen, the Jets have come close 4 times. 1 game away, Joe, once with Richard Todd, once with Vinny Testaverde, and twice with the young Mark Sanchez. I really think this team is primed for big success. I think Darnold's great. I really do. And you add Bell, and you add that big linebacker, C.J. Mosley, and a few other pieces, and I think the Jets could be a very, very surprising team inside the AFC this year. But more importantly, you've done it already. The book is All the Way, My Life in 4 Quarters. And whether you're a Jet fan, a Giant fan, a Miami Dolphin fan, or a Houston Texan fan, everybody loves Joe Namath, and nobody more than Bernie and Sid. So thank you for today.
Thank you, Sid. Bernie, thank you, man. Let me know anytime you want to talk. I enjoy talking with you.
Thank you,
We'll
Joe.
take you up on it. It was an honor. Thank you very much, Joe Namath.
Good luck with the book, and we really love you. Thank you. The great Joe Namath here on the Bernie and Sid Show. Been an amazing week. We end with a champ. We'll come back and wrap it up right after this.